I still don't know if let's see, if I take all the Y's or all the A's and all the T's and do it one color, or the whole text just one color. I'm still not sure. What do you think?
Well, if the text is one color, then it is a pattern,
Okay.
and it becomes a kind of a smooth textural background, which I like.
Uh-huh.
If it
If it's all different colors?
if it's all different colors, then it's kind of like a bunch of, it's like candy, all
Okay.
kinds of candy, and
And in this case, candy's probably not the thing.
yeah, it might be too busy, and it might detract from the
Yeah.
words, because I kind of like the idea that you can read the words as well as look at the painting, and you can look at the words as a pattern, but you can also read it, and I'm afraid that if each one was
Uh-huh.
a different color, it would be impossible for the eye to read the words.
Okay. Okay. I think you're right.
Another painting of me standing here like this?
Okay, you can look now.
Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god, Carmen, it's amazing!
Why do you like it?
Oh, the words, I mean, it's great! Oh my god, the words are fantastic. I'm speechless. Oh, it's amazing. It's amazing.
You didn't expect anything like this, huh?
Well, I mean, you talked about the words, but I never expected to see it like this, like so, like that. It's just so wild to see like your words painted. It's amazing. I love the hands. You do such good hands. Wow. Are you happy with it?
Oh, yeah. I'll tell you the whole process.
I'm tremendously impressed.
You are?
Yeah, it's very
I was
fun.
kind of nervous. I didn't know how you were going to react.
It's so big too. It's like, wow. I mean, I feel like a total narcissist, just like looking at my own painting, going, "Wow, isn't it amazing?" It's like, but it's really.
But that's what, I mean, that's what you're supposed to feel.
It is. It's like it's
Narcissistic. It is about you.
It's all about me. You couldn't have done it without me. Oh my God. I really liked it. I love the background color too. That really works. God, how did you get the lettering like that?
Well, I had to line it. No, oh, actually, I'm gonna show it to you how I did it.
I mean, it looks like almost like a font in a weird way. Like it looks very consistent.
Uh-huh.
You know? Oh my God, I wish Daniel could see this.
He will.
Wish he wasn't passed out on codeine.
Okay.
Thank you. I mean, this is really.
Oh.
There we have that.
Gotta get the
You gotta
music.
get like the exact same music.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
We're gonna get the Manson in there. I just didn't want to start off with the Manson because it would freak you out.
Let's not start off on a bad note. Oh my God. It's really good. I mean, it's really, really good. I love the hands. You do such good hands.
Oh, I'm glad
You
you...
understand hands. I really like it very much. God,
A very
I can't wait to get
important
pictures of it.
question. A very important... Can you go back there a little bit?
Oh, sure.
A very important question. How do you feel about seeing your own work up there?
Well, at first it's like, it's almost overpowering, you know, because you see your work so big, you know. And you almost, I mean, at first I almost felt shy. Like, oh my God, you know, it's like exposure.
Right.
In such a different way, you know. It's very, because here you are. I mean, I was so stunned when I saw it because it's like a picture of yourself and your words in big letters, you know.
And you recognize your words immediately.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, that's an interesting question. Yeah, and it was like, oh, and then there's this sense of like, shyness, but that was overcome with just kind of like, it really makes me happy, overwhelmingly, you know? Because I feel like you did such a nice thing, like it's moving that you did a painting with my words like that, you know?
And, okay, what about, how do you feel that from all the work you gave me, I picked that?
It does not surprise me, because those are usually people's favorite poems that I do. I mean, maybe that's not why, maybe you didn't pick them for the same reasons, but my first impression is that you picked strong poems. You picked poems that were, pretty fully realized, and I appreciate that, so it's like immortalizing work that is strong that I did, so.
So I'm not in trouble, too.
It's not like you put my diary like, I feel so fat today, I'll never amount to anything, go, why am I such a loser, or, early poems like, I love you, my love is like a ever-flowing river or something. You put, stuff that, and it also is kind of reaffirming like, oh, those must be good. You know how like, if someone comes in and sees a painting over and over, people say, that's such a great painting, soon you start to think, well, this must be one of my strongest pieces, at some level, even if your relationship to it's changed, other people are still being kind of moved by the same works. And I like these poems too, so wow, it's just great. I mean, it's like I just don't know what to say. Like I've never had anything like this before happen to me, or be done of me. I mean, it's like it's so personal and yet,
Well, you worked hard for it. You almost lost your legs.
I know I'll never be this. I'm like, see that painting? It's like a war injury, It's like. But, no, it's just wonderful. It was worth every moment standing there.
We were delirious. Oh my God, remember towards the end of Sunday? Oh.
It's the big one, it's the big one! When Scott walked in, he said, baby, it's my big one, I'm the big one! I'll never forget that. And then what did you say? You were barefoot or something, and then you said, where are my dark sunglasses, and you were painting at night? And I said, that's like the ultimate bohemian.
Oh yeah, I can't remember now.
Barefoot
Yes.
sunglasses and a note on the wall, call unemployment.
Oh, that's right.
I laugh when I think of that. Because it got so crazy.
It really got, because we were so tired, I think, and we knew we had to keep going. So the only thing we could do is laugh.
I thought you were so tired I'd come in here and see like a dolly painting. So I was thinking of Hieronymus Bosch, or I'd see like some kind of, like Soutine, the side of beef or something, you know, I'd be like, it would have nothing to do with me. Oh, it's just great.
Okay, now tell me about the face. You in there. Do you see it, what you see?
Well,
or don't you?
I definitely think that there's a certain part of me that's captured in there, like certain expressiveness, definitely. But at the same time, I feel like it's definitely not like a pure representation.
Uh-huh.
Because there's a little bit of there's kind of an attitude there, and there's kind of you know, it's not just like it's different. Like it definitely looks a lot like me, obviously, but then again, it's not. It doesn't. Like in a sense, this painting over here,
Right.
just looks a little bit more, you know, like me. But it's like my feeling about that is just that, you know, it doesn't. I mean, since the words are there, it's like it's interesting because it doesn't. I don't know. It's so different. It's the words just change the whole painting. Because if it was just me, you know, I don't know. I can't explain it because I don't really know what it would be like without the words. But now it's just like a whole other dimension, you know.
But you feel that the words in this painting and the figure being you, that combination is steering something in you.
Oh, absolutely. Because it's like, absolutely. I like the painting a lot. I mean, it's like I like the face a lot. It almost seems like a conglomeration of several like you haven't seen like a million expressions of my face by now.
I think those 3 days, I think I saw them all.
I was like Lon Chaney, you know, man of a thousand faces. No, but the werewolf. Let's see, I did the werewolf, the mummy, Phantom of the Opera. Oh, no, it's just really great. I mean, I feel so lucky that I just got to have this experience, you know. I mean, I really do, and that makes.
Well, it had to do with your own motivation too.
Yeah, I
you
mean,
know?
it's like so. It's so.
You felt
exciting.
motivated to do it, so it's
I've always enjoyed being here.
it's almost like a collaborative work in a
Yeah.
way.
Absolutely. Piano music reminds me of lost family values. Nancy family values. This reminds me of being so tired in the middle of the painting process and going in to take a nap, just being so delirious and lying on the bed, and then all of a sudden I would just hear this, hello. And then Dale Carmen was out here playing the Manson Family Opera. That and the sound of the Mr. Softy truck coming through the window, I thought I was losing my mind.
Jocelyn, yesterday, or of the process evoking you? What do you, I mean, you don't have to feel anything, but...
I'm feeling scared because of this music now.
Good!
No, I remember, because it all seems like, it just seems like everything went by so fast. Like it seemed like a long process, and then I look at these pictures and I think, God, could it all be over already? I mean, that's the first
what?
thing I think of. Could it all be over so quickly? I mean, I look at all these are so different, you know?
Uh-huh.
And, it's just kind of amazing to see all these different styles and then this is the end result. I don't know, it's like, it's just neat, because I've never been, like, I like just sitting here in the middle of it all. I've never, it's all new to me, you know? It just makes me feel like immediately I think of just how great it is that this is, you know, this is all, like, this is hard for me to articulate. But, to be in the midst of, to really see a process literally spread out around you is nice, you know? Because, like, with writing, I think it's different. You go through
How
a
is
process,
it?
well, you go through a process, so much of it I think is just like, not to sound pretentious, but the medium, you know? I mean, because like writing, you have drafts of a story, but you can't kind of just see it all, like in that visual way where you just see all these images and it's like the artistic process is made very clear, you know, with color and line, and it's kind of right out there, you know? And I think that's really interesting. It's just interesting to see how many moods manifest themselves, you know, how your line changes depending on whatever elements were going on, you know. These ones I find particularly interesting. I really
Which
like
ones?
these ones. these two right here. And it doesn't seem important.
Why is that?
Something about like the way you did the background, and you know, it's really free and really interesting. I think I look like a child in these pictures. I think, in a way. You know.
A lot. Well, I think that I remember that while I was doing it, I did see a lot of that in you. But I have a tendency to want to go for that, to see the person's inner child in them. Well, but sometimes it's screaming right out there, and with you it does that a lot.
Oh, interesting. I definitely feel that in these two. So I think those reveal a lot, you know, and I think they all reveal something different. But this one.
What you can do, this is what you could do. Pick two, and then you can pick one drawing.
Oh, thank you. That's wonderful. I love this.
Well, you worked very hard for it, Jocelyn.
It's just great. I mean, because I can't wait to just have these to look at. This one is like really amazing too.
Which one?
This one I like a lot. I like a lot because I think I look kind of defensive in this picture. Or if it, you know what I mean? Like I look a little bit guarded.
Let's see.
You know, I definitely look a little like, am I going to look bad in this painting? No. I don't know. This one I like too because of the legs. The legs are great.
Are you going to take that one?
I might take this one. I can't decide. But I really love the legs and the shoes.
You know what? This is actually my favorite one.
This one?
Yeah, and that's why I think you should take it, because I think that that's a good representation of my work.
Oh, okay.
Or not, well, I don't know. It's something, that's not the reason, but it's a reason that if people would see it in your place, I wouldn't mind, you know, like you saying, oh yeah, that's, you know, Carmen did that or whatever, as opposed to maybe something else.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
How do you feel about this?
Can I see that? Can you put that up? You know why I like this one? Because it has that quality of distortion.
Yeah.
That's what I like about that. It's, although it's not like balanced distortion, certain areas got distorted. Ideally, I would have liked that, you know, it would have happened everywhere, in the arms and the legs and the dress and the, but that stuff, it's all part of the process.
The legs are great.
Aren't they? Yeah,
Big hands, you know?
I love and the shoes in that. Can I see the shoes? I love the shoes. The shoes never made it in the big painting.
Untouchable.
So don't worry.
This one's really interesting. I look like an Amazon queen, don't I? You will not touch me. I have not yet learned the ways of young women.
Isn't that when we were into the German thing?
Yes.
We're talking about the Germans.
This is the total, like, I am a proud German woman. I do not have time for art. Look at my mouth. I'm like, you know, please do not mess with me at all. This one has some distortion to it. Which one? Oh no, the other one. There was one that also had distortion that I liked. This one's pretty distorted also.
Which one?
This one. I like this. I like the legs. My thighs are stuck together, look. But the alien, you know, compared to the alien picture, I know this is going to end up on Dan's wall. I know it.
Let's see.
This one. See, they both have distortion, but this one is kind of...
Yeah, the other one is a better distortion. Hold on. Where
This
am
is
I?
great.
Where am I?
Hello, Nado.
This one is gonna end up at dance.
I
Is
predict he'll pick
this one? Yeah, I like that one a lot.
You're afraid of every cycle, ladies, and it keeps you in your graves. Have you seen it? This is the perfect example of what I was just talking about. You see this? We're all over here. Sure someone of these freaky things going down red. They can't even see past their own shadows long enough to have the actual contact with anybody. And they're only getting stepped on each other like a bunch of young chickens. To suck on my dick. To get to me. You assholes who buy and sell each other doesn't get my attention for a minute. Yeah, then you walk around this ring and you talk about love. Love of what? Love of brother. Shit, you rejects don't give a fuck about your brother or your sister. You only give a fuck about Charlie. When are you gonna give your beer to me? I'm going out for a pass. I've been trying to help you. I see you in September or something. But it's in your programming. Your programmers were programmed, and it's just like you, and it's just like you. Shit. It's easy to be here in the now. Just like I've been falling in the same submarine.
Did he tell you like what she was like and if she was really weird?
We didn't get into
Oh
that.
my god, I would love to hear stories about her.
I've been trying to help you out.
I think she was really born again.
But it's in your
Is she really now? I
Well,
didn't even.
supposedly, like the 70s, she became a born again. She married. She had 2 marriages while she was in prison, I think. She married a super rich Texas horse rancher, and then she married somebody
Really?
else.
in the now.
Oh, tell me, you said you were going to tell me the end of that story of the piggies. There was something else.
I don't think that. I think that was it. I remember one part of she.
This is what I need. Hold it. Tell me the story. The piggies.
Well,
The
after,
end.
After she opened.
And how old were you?
I must have been about 8 years old when she showed me we're talking about Linda Kasabian showing me her smokehouse full of butchered pigs.
Oh boy.
About 4 years after the Sharon Tate murders, when I was at her house, it was a very disturbing experience for me. But the irony was I was also best friends with Leslie Van Houten's cousin at the same time, so I always felt a kind of kinship with the Manson family accidentally. But it was very weird because my sister and I used to read Helter Skelter and scare ourselves, and then we'd get so scared we'd read the book and we'd see the pictures of Charles Manson, and then we'd scream and throw the book across the room. But we were kind of fascinated by it, you know, because it's a real interesting
What was the
story.
fascination at that age?
I think because it was so scary and it was so
Fantastical?
yeah, it was just so scary, and it's like I think people like to be scared. Like when I was a kid, I was really into monsters and things like that, so I kind of like scary things.
Why do you think I've noticed that kids, they love to watch horror stories and scary stuff? Why do you think that is? What is it? That is it because they probably don't think they will ever experience that reality, or because everything is still a fantasy and it's...
I just remember I liked gory things and things like that because I always felt like they were more real. I know this sounds weird, but like when I was a young girl, all that kind of scary comic book monsters and things like that, they seemed so much more interesting and strange and dark than like the world seemed like on the other side of the spectrum, like what most young girls were into, dolls, and like it seemed fake to me. I don't know how to explain it, but it didn't seem interesting, you know. I don't know. I just always loved that kind of stuff, Jaws and like Dracula and things like that. But the Mansons, that's another ball of wax altogether. I used to always have these scary thoughts that Charles Manson was going to come after me and like kill me and stuff like that. This music's really calming me down. Yeah, it's like nice to relax and just have a nice cup of tea and listen to the Manson Family.
That's why you also like The Bad Lieutenant so much.
The Bad Lieutenant is great because that's like a morality play. You know? That's like for the Catholic in me. You know?
But let's go back to the Three Piggies.
Okay, so after I saw the pigs, I was completely.
Oh, tell me the story
the whole
again.
Story?
Yeah.
Well, I went over to her house, which was like in New Hampshire. This old.
What's her name again?
Linda Kasabian.
Uh-huh.
She was the one who went with them when they murdered Sharon Tate. And she was the one who stood out on the lawn while the murders were going on. She was like the lookout, and she was witness to some horrible stuff. Like Wojciech Frykowski, one of the people they killed, crawled out onto the lawn and said, "Help me, help me," according to her, after he was stabbed like something like 60 times or something. And she just saw
After he stabbed Sharon Tate?
No, he was Sharon Tate's friend.
Oh.
And he got stabbed. They stabbed those people like 60 times. You know, I mean, it was just like a bloodbath. So she was kind of like a witness to all that. She drove the car, actually. I think she was the only one who had a driver's license or something like that. But yeah, so she lived in New Hampshire, and you know, on this little old farmhouse on this old road, and I went over there even though it was strictly forbidden to, and it was this weird farmhouse situation, and she was actually there with her mother discussing Helter Skelter, the book, which had come out like a year before.
You're kidding.
She was sitting there going, you know, that book got some things wrong about me, and I heard her saying that, and my mom had the book, you know, so of course I was like, she's talking about the book, you know. You know, like she was some kind of star, you know, who needed to talk to her agent. Like, I just can't believe what they printed about me. And you know, I had seen her picture in the book and everything, and there I was looking at her. The thing about the whole thing was it wasn't like this scary thing. She was really nice. That was the weird thing about it. She wasn't this scary woman. She was like, hi, you know. And she was just like this little hippie girl, you know, blonde hair and just really
probably
sweet.
totally disconnected, too.
Yeah, she's probably, yeah, it's like, the word sociopathic and everything to you. You know, she was like, do you want cookies? And I was like, no, that's okay. And, you know, she was giving us a little tour of the house, which was a complete mess, completely falling apart, like mattresses on the floor. I remember this distinctly. It was summer or spring, and they had a Christmas tree in one of the upstairs rooms, like this fake Christmas tree with all the ornaments on it. That totally freaked me out. And so then, you know, she was showing me around, going, we have a pony, we have cows, and I was like, yeah. You know, and then she said, do you want to see something gross? And she opened this door, and there were these three, like, big hogs lying there, just skin, like, hanging, you know? And it was too much for me after the whole Death to Pigs, and I was just like,
Oh,
you
no,
know, the Beatles,
why?
Piggy. I already had the White Album by then, listened to Piggies by the Beatles, knew the whole, like, deal, you know? So to me, I just, my little friend was kind of like, ew, gross, but, like, for me, it was like this whole other metaphor going on, you know? I was like, So
then what did you do?
I was just like, well, see you later. No, we just kind of left after that, I think that kind of put a damper on our afternoon. Yeah, I just remember shortly thereafter just kind of going, okay, well, see you later. And then I had to tell someone about it, you know, so I told my mother. And I knew I would get in trouble because I wasn't supposed to be there, but I had to tell her. And she was like, Jesus Christ! She just like freaked out. Because my mother was like, first of all, you probably would have caught lice from them. Second of all, lice was a big problem back in the 70s in my town. Everyone always got lice. There was always lice epidemics. So besides I don't know which was worse.
Did you ever get lice?
Yes, I did get lice. As a matter of
In
fact.
your hair or
Yes.
in some other area?
Well, most grade school children do not get crabs. I don't know. I mean, I wasn't that sexually active when I was in second grade. But
I was at 6.
Oh my God!
The whole
It brings out all these crazy autobiographical confessions.
The whole ordeal with me started at 6.
Well, guess that's another story for another time.
I got banned from school for it. No.
Carmen's provocative dress. Carmen's like going to like first grade with like mini skirts and like knee-high boots with like all these hooks on them and stuff.
You got it.
Like standing up against the chain link fence, smoking. Hey, got any extra lunch money?
Okay, tell me now about the lice again. Your mother saying first of all, she wasn't worried about you being killed, but maybe you could lie. No, I'm only kidding. That's not at all.
No,
she was really worried about the other stuff.
Yeah, she was like, you were at the witness for the prosecution's, house, and how was it?
You were?
I mean, that's what Linda Kasabian was, because the reason she didn't go to jail was because she turned state's evidence and she testified against Charles Manson and, told the court everything, right?
Oh, wow.
And so, that's like that famous scene, like in the movie of Helter Skelter, where it's true, like in the courtroom, he looked at her and went like this, like when she took the stand.
Oh, really?
And so, like, when I was a kid, I always, like, oh my God, I always had these dreams that he was going to come and get her when he got out of jail. Like, he was going to break out of jail and go to New Hampshire and, like, kill her, and I would be like... So, anyhow, what was it, the lice? Oh, I don't know. And
yeah, what your mother...
Just because, that filthy place with all those filthy sickos, and I can't believe you were over there, and then, of course, my head started to feel itchy.
Itchy? Oh.
Well, it's like a psychological thing, pretty soon you're like... I got lies from Charles Manson's lover. I mean, that would be my claim to fame, I guess. If they had those kind of tabloids back then, I probably would have been on the front page. It was very weird. Like, as there were so many children in the house, I remember that, and I kept thinking, I wonder if Charles Manson is the father of these children, that kept occurring to me. It was very hippie, you know what I mean? It was just like a big flop house.
And when was it?
It was 1991.
Were you in school or not?
No, I was not. I had not started going back to school yet, but I was just going to start going back. I was pretty depressed because I lived in a really dangerous neighborhood in Venice.
Mm-hmm.
There was a lot of tension in the air. And I remember I was walking home, and I just felt like really out of place in that neighborhood. And it was a beautiful day, a beautiful California day. I remember I was walking down the street to my house, and I was just feeling sad because I was thinking of where I grew up and how beautiful it was, and I just felt like it wasn't a very beautiful place where it was, and how I didn't want to be somewhere beautiful. And the greatest thing about that house where I lived was there calla lilies that grew all around the front of the house.
Mm-hmm.
So I just remember walking home, and I was just walking down the street thinking of New Hampshire and the barn where my horses were and stuff, and then walking up the path, and there were these lilies with ants. Ants were crawling in and out of them, and I stopped to look at them because I used to pick them. I think it was around Easter time because I used to always pick them out and like take them to like where Easter dinner or whatever. And the poem just came to me, because I just thought, that's the kind of language that I'm more comfortable with. I just couldn't relate to that urban environment. It's a very crack-oriented neighborhood.
And so that poem came actually all from just thinking about how your life used to be then and where you grew up then.
Yeah, and just how inarticulate I felt like in the midst of all the city stuff. I was also reading this poet, Jane Kenyon, who was like a big influence on me at that time. And she actually lived in New Hampshire. She was a great, great poet, wonderful poet. And I think that the style, I really felt her influence a lot in terms of articulating that poem, because she writes about quiet things. She has a quiet tone to her work a lot of times. She observes things. So I think that was in there.
Mm-hmm.
A lot.
Oh, and now I don't know if it made sense what I had to do with Chet Baker. I was like a little bit concerned. How would I explain that I suddenly abruptly stopped the poem? Of course, it's obvious why. There's no room, right? Just as simple as that. But so, does it make sense that on top I wrote excerpt?
Oh,
I
didn't even actually notice it, so you mentioned it right now.
So, did that kind of, how did you respond to that? That it was totally unfinished and it stopped very abruptly?
I don't know, because, like, it was interesting, because when I look at the poem,
Mm-hmm.
I don't even see it as my, like, the first one, I don't know. They both seem obviously like my poem, and the top native tongue one, because you can see more of the poem.
Mm.
It seems more like, oh, there's my poem. But it's interesting, the other one, because it's like I like cutting up the poem and looking at it cut up. Like when she says, cries, runs a hand over her. You know, it's interesting because it's like that whole thing that people do, you know, to get their creative energy flowing, where you just kind of cut up words and rearrange things, and I like that. So it works for me. I mean, to me, it's not like, because it's not the same as seeing it on a page where the experience is the poem and the content. Like I got this one poem published, and they screwed up the line. They made a line break where there was no line break, you know? And so it like ruined it for me, you know?
Right,
But this is a completely different experience. Here it's like on a different level. It's like I'm playing with language. It's like language. And I love the fact that it's language interrupted by a visual form. I think it's great. So it's like liberating, and it's kind of, I see the poetic language in a new way, you know? Which is neat.
Okay, now another thing I would like to know is, tell me a little bit about Chet Baker, because I love that. Just thinking about it gives me the chills. It's like great.
Oh, thank you.
I just love it.
Like how I came up with that poem?
Yes.
Well, I don't know if this sounds like cheating, but I actually was with this, with a boyfriend, and we were, I was really starting to listen to his music. And I loved his music, and my boyfriend said, have you ever seen that documentary called Let's Get Lost, which was about him? And I said, no, you know, he said it's like a very tragic, because, you know, he's a tragic life, he had a tragic life.
Who, your boyfriend? Your ex? Oh.
Well, that's another video for another time. No, we were in, I just remember we were in Silver Lake, we said, let's rent the video, we came home watching it. Chet Baker's life was very tragic. He was a heroin addict. First of all, I mean, I don't know if you know.
Who is Chet Baker?
He was a jazz musician from the 50s, and he was part, I mean, you know, if you wanted to categorize him, it would probably be part of the California jazz, you know, which a lot of people don't like. He had a very smooth voice. I think Scott has a CD of him somewhere.
Oh, really?
Very, you know, he kind of sings like this, you know, very kind of, I'm of course butchering it, but it's like a very slow, you know, languid jazz, which I love. I just love the way he sings. So this was a documentary about his life, and he starts out, I mean, he was a totally beautiful man, first of all, and he looked like James Dean, like in the 50s.
Oh, wow.
And then, like, by the end of the movie, I mean, his face looks like some kind of dehydrated vegetable, like a potato that you put in the microwave and it just shrinks and it gets all wrinkled. I mean, he was a heroin addict. His face looks like, it looks like a cake that fell in.
Wow.
So you see this kind of, you know, and this documentary, it was done by Bruce Weber. It's all in black and white.
Really?
It's very stylized, you know?
I would like to see, because I like Bruce Weber stuff. I mean, on an aesthetic level, it might be a little bit on the surface, but he's got beautiful composition stuff. And
yeah, I mean, I agree, because I was like, Bruce Weber, I was like, uh-oh.
Right.
Because I had seen so much of his. So, but no, it really works, and a lot of the images and feeling of this poem is taken right from those images of that film, and, you know, I couldn't, after we watched the video, it was sad, you know, because he died, like, Chet Baker ended up dying by falling out a window. I mean, he had, like, a really weird life.
Wow, you're kidding.
No, I mean, it was sad. So, like, in the movie, you see, like, his family, you see his mother. It's like a documentary, so you see all these elements
I
of
would
his life.
love to see it.
And, you know, it was sad, and, like, after we watched the video, we went driving around, and I just remember thinking, I can't stop thinking about that movie. I feel like I want to write something about it, and my boyfriend says, why don't you? So I just, I just wrote it, you know. It was just like, it just came out, because it was like, I couldn't stop thinking of certain images of that film. So it just really came right out of that. I think maybe I cheated a little bit, like, I know his mother is in it, and I don't know if she has a book with his hair in it. That's in the poem.
But why? That's very interesting, because I think a lot of us artists have that. Why do you see that as cheating?
I know, that's a very interesting question, because, like, obviously you got to draw your stuff from somewhere. You got to draw your inspiration from
Right. And okay, go ahead.
Well, because I was thinking, oh, well, here are the images ready-made. You got the mother, you got the kids. All you have to do is write it.
You're still putting it together in your way, though.
Right, and it's still, like I said, it's going to translate. Like all that stuff, his tragic coin and stuff, which is very dramatic language and very kind of, you know, all that stuff is like metaphors that it inspired in me. But I guess I say that because it's like, I don't know, it's not cheating, but I think it's like that sense of like, oh, everything I have to like come up with has to be just plucked out of thin air.
Yeah, I can identify with that very well.
Which is just completely unrealistic, you know. But hopefully, you know, I transcended just copying it from a movie, which I think I did because I really felt that poem. I mean, I felt that poem really strongly because I felt for him, you know. Because I mean, it is unbelievable, like that story. So that was that. And it ended up being, you know, people really liked it and stuff.
Another question that I have. Have you ever read your poems to your family?
Oh yeah, my
Yeah?
mom loved that native tongue poem. That was like my mom was like, oh, I love that poem. That always did, especially when I was younger. But you know, yeah, I do definitely. They've read it all.
And how do they respond?
Really well. Like when the Chet Baker one got published, I bought them the magazine and stuff, and they love that poem. You know, they've always just been really positive. The only negative story I have is a really funny one from when I was a kid. But
What is it? What is?
my friend Steve adores this story. Well, just a little digression is my friend Steve and I used to play this game called Make Me Laugh, where you'd sit there and be really serious, and the other person would have to make you laugh. And I did this. I had no idea. It was my turn to make him laugh, and a bunch of his friends. I had nothing. I didn't feel funny at all. So I started just talking about this thing, and it cracked him up to the point where they fell off the chair. Because when I was a kid, I wrote a lot. Like story after story, and it's interesting because talk about drawing from a movie or a book, like Jaws, I told you that was like a big deal for me, right? So I read Jaws when I was a kid, and it was like, oh, you know, I copied the style of that book, you know, which is great, Peter Benchley, right? Great artist to copy. Like I write, you know, so I wrote lots of shark attack stories, and one time I came to the kitchen and my mom was there with my brother, and I read her, I said, can I read you a story? And I was so used to getting like the total support, like, great, keep writing, you know. So I read her the story, and it's all about this man whose son gets attacked by a shark. And, like, he has to go search for the shark, you know, and it's, like, in Florida. Like, I tried to just not make it a copy of Jaws, so I'm like, it'll be in Florida. You know, so, like, he goes out, and, like, I itemized everything in the story, like, what he had, you know, with the lunch he brought on the boat. And I just remember saying, you know, he brought sandwiches wrapped in tinfoil and beer, you know, and all this stuff. And
they continued washing the dishes or whatever they were doing, or did they stop?
I remember it was my brother Joey and my mom, and they were talking. And then when I came in, they just sat there, and they both were like watching me. And I always remember standing with Joey. And I got to the part where they were searching for the man's son, who was dead, you know. And so this diver, the man is sitting on the boat, you know, so grief-stricken that he can't dive, but he can still, you know, eat his sandwiches wrapped in foil that he carefully packed. So the diver surfaces with a pair of bloody bathing trunks. And, like, the man just, like, bursts into tears at the sight of these. And my mother and my brother just were like this, you know.
Your older brother?
Yes, my oldest brother. And they both just started laughing.
They started laughing?
Yes, and this was, like, for me, the most, you know, tragic moment. And I'm like, and they looked at the trunks. Yes, Bill said, they're his. You know, there was a 12-inch hole ripped right out of the leg of, you know, the shorts or whatever. And I couldn't
How
see.
old were you?
Like 8 or, like, probably 9, 8, you know. And they just started laughing. And I just was, like, so mortified because they were just...
Did you cry?
I just remember this. I remember being, like, incensed because I think I, like, threw the story on the ground and, like, literally
really?
just went, oh, you know, and just, like, ran out of the room. I mean, I did the drawings. I used to always do the drawings, too. I'd illustrate, and I'd always write written and illustrated by, you know. So, you know, I had, like, the guy's leg probably floating on the cover or something, you know, I don't know. But I remember that always. I mean, I guess, I don't know if it translates well, but it's just, like, they laughed, and it was so, I was so horrified, you know, because I thought it was so touching, you know.
What did they say afterwards? Did they say anything? Or
they actually got mad at me. I mean, that's like the
because
weird thing,
you got mad.
Yeah, they got mad at me because they were like, "Oh, take a joke," because that's like how they would treat me like an adult, sort of.
Oh,
You know what I mean? Like, oh, come on, you know. But I mean, Jesus, when you're a kid, you know, you don't know that gawky, you know, stuff. You know, you don't know why that's funny. Really, I mean, you do. Like, part of me knew why it was funny, but it was, I felt silly and humiliated. You know? So that was my only negative experience. The Shark of Palm Beach, I think it was called.
Oh, I love the title. The Shark of Palm Beach. I love it.
The bathing trunk.
Great.
Now we know the bathing trunk.
Do you still have it?
I don't know, because when we We had our guest house at our farm was where I kept all my writing, and it burned down when I was about 9 years old. So I lost a lot of stories there, but I have a lot still. Is that every time I look at it, I feel like all the figures are looking at me as if I'm some kind of strange foreign creature, you know, like they're all coming to the front.
You are?
Yeah, like they're very curious. Like it's like to me, it's like a painting of silence, and like the figures are just coming and investigating the way, you know, curious, the way like sea animals would. So I really like that, and so it's like it's a very engaging. It engages the viewer, but at the same time, I think the viewers kept it at a distance because I told you before with the masks, because the masks create that barrier and like they create a distance. They change the human figures into something else, you know. It's like it creates a sense of mystery about the painting, which I really like.
And what do you think? Do you think that the colors are evoking that?
Yeah, that's part of definitely the color too, because of this. They have the yellow skin, the purple skin, the green, and this figure has the mask is blocked out by green here. It is. It's very interesting. It's like another. It's like when you go into the ocean and you are in another world. And yet, the great thing with this painting is the people are part of that. Because like to me, when I think of nature, I always, even though we're part of nature, I tend to always think we're intruding on another's environment. Like when we go in the sea. But here, these people seem so much a part of it that they, to me, they are confronting like the viewer as if the viewer is, you know, now a new person coming into this environment, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that is really great, you know. It's really a unified picture, and I really like that about it. Really interesting.
Did Dan make more comments on your painting?
He just said he really liked it. Dan is often a man of few words about things, but he liked it very much. I could tell he really liked it. It's a wonderful painting. I mean, it's just so, it's the scale is so impressive too. I was trying to write about how I felt about it. It was hard, it was hard to explain, you know, but just, it's such a confrontation, you know, on this other level.
What is the confrontation about? Oops.
Well, the confrontation, I think when you say that word, it almost sounds like a negative thing or something, but...
No, it's not. I understand that word a lot, very well.
On this level, it's like confronting some part of yourself, you know, it's you and not you.
And what is that part?
I don't know, your work, like for me to see my work like that big is just
That's
wild.
the part I'm interested. What's wild about that?
Well, I guess it's like it's been immortalized, and again on this huge scale, so it's almost like there's a responsibility there. I can't describe it. It's like there's a responsibility because you can't, it's like you can't sort of, I don't want to say escape it, but it's
you
like,
can't let go anymore.
Yeah, you can't, it's like there it is, you know, and it's bigger than life, and I don't know, it's like you can't just put this in a drawer. You know what I mean?
Do you feel exposed?
Yeah, I do it to a certain extent, but I feel, I don't feel like embarrassed or like, because like, oh, my work, oh. You know, at first, I think it's like humbling. It's like it makes me feel humble because it's like I feel grateful that you put my work on such a big scale. Like I feel lucky and I feel like I have a responsibility to sort of live up to, not live up to an expectation, but if it's important enough to be in a painting like this, it's like, you know, you feel like it's, you can't take it lightly, I guess is what I'm saying. You know?
Do you think that is that helping you making a choice of commitment?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think that this whole process it's really clarified my own process about, you know, doing work and like what it takes and why where my blocks have been. Because as soon as we like sat down and looked at like all those drawings and stuff, it was just, I realized the thing that I was not taking into consideration was how much time it takes and how much work it requires, and how you start up with a vision and it's going to take so long to get there if you do. You know, and I think I had this real mentality of instantaneous things. Like if it wasn't instantaneously good, then it was just this constant struggle that I didn't see was leading anywhere. You know, instead of realizing, it's a reminder that that is like the first step. You know what I'm saying? So these poems were very instantaneous, but I edited them very little. But I think those are the rare things. It's just like saying I sat down and drew a picture, it was perfect. I mean, I'm sure that's happened to you. It's exactly what you wanted. That's not always when you draw a picture every time. It's not exactly what you wanted the first time you draw it. So, in that way, it's really interesting. You chose these instantaneous pieces, but they're on a. This poem was hard. I mean, this painting was really hard work. So it's like two examples of the process. That's interesting because it took really a long time to get to this place of painting.
Right.
You know, and but you can get to this place of like something magic happened, you know, at the end. So, I mean, that it's a story of a process which is really good.
Turned it off. Shoes?
Oh God, if you could walk a mile in these shoes, in my shoes. Well, these shoes have really taken on a almost mythic dimension for me. These were the shoes that I posed in for the painting, and over a 2-week period I wore these shoes for many, many hours, standing in Carmen's hallway, occasionally sitting, occasionally being the key word. I think once she let me sit for one of the pieces in the process, but no, mostly it was just me standing in these shoes, and they have that institutional quality, kind of, you know, a nurse attendant or perhaps mental health technician. You know, and when I look at them, I try to think strength. You know, they've got thick soles. I think I can make it through this. You know, so in a sense, they become a symbol almost of inner strength. You know, I mean, you know, they supported me really well during that time, and it was not easy. Sometimes I would be like a flamingo, you know, standing on one foot. I tried everything, but it really didn't work. You know, so I look at these, you know, it's kind of like people who were in the concentration camps. They still have a number on their wrist, you know, even after all these years. I look at these shoes and I think, you know, these are a testament to what I went through, you know, what I went through for painting, what I suffered through for art. You know. So
What?
oh no, okay.
All right. Now, you know what I would like you to do seriously now? Let me just not read.
Yeah, because you must have just copied it right off the paper, huh? I'm trying to squint. What's that say? You're not filming, are you? Carmen! Oh my God, the evil directress. Okay. This poem is called Native Tongue. In my native tongue, I speak the language of horse blankets, sweet grain that gathers on the fingers. My syllables curve, silver bits and shadowy barns. I am inarticulate here, where gardens are overgrown and ants infest the gentle ears of the lilies. So that was that poem, which I read without squinting. Okay, and this is the second poem on the painting, Chet Baker. Chet Baker is there every time I close my eyes. His mother cries by the piano. She runs her hand over a cloth book where she keeps a single lock of his honey-colored hair. His profile a tragic coin, the most beautiful bones. Chet Baker on Pacific Coast Highway, a girl next to him. Her hair flies in her face, they drive so fast. Genius rises from the pure wreckage of the person he becomes at the end, washed up at the bottom of Santa Monica Pier, arms and legs, seaweed, cigarettes. Women speak his eulogy when he is still alive. His children line up like a jury in his house. They inherit only the architecture of his face and a pile of records they cannot understand. They go on television to tell him they miss him, but he is unreachable. The emperor, toothless, sunk 1,000 fathoms. The darkness of his eyes, the extinct mouth singing like Funny Valentine in a Paris parlor.
begins, if you see a little square kind of blinking, it means the battery is going dead.
Okay.
So,
Okay, it's recording.
Now I've got to think a little. All right. Turn it off. Okay, first when I started having this idea, by the way, my English will be atrocious at some points, but anyway, it's more important for me to try to get it out in whatever ways it comes. But when I first had the idea to do a painting of you, and I don't know if it was your idea, I can't remember that part. I got really excited because it had been a long time that I didn't do a painting from life, you know, and I know that I really feel that, like, I can paint from pictures and everything, but the excitement is not the same for me. When you do something from life, it's like you go through an experience of the process and you are really living that process, and that is so incredibly exciting. It's like it's like you really you're transcending, number one, and number two, you gain, especially when you get to the final image of whatever you're looking, the amount and the level of completion that you arrive is just phenomenal. You know, you get into that like childlike state that I've been talking to you about. It's like you get into this primal world that is so whole and so complete. And I don't know why I reach that level when I do. Maybe that I'm not quite sure yet, at least not at this moment. So, but at the same time, I was in a very conflictuous state, and I had a lot of inner conflict since I hadn't done a painting from life and having a model with me, you. So because a lot of other stuff started happening because I have been painting a lot from photographs, and it's a different experience. It becomes more about doing a good drawing or doing like, you know, you think in terms of proportion a lot, and it's another experience. It's more like of putting a painting together. That's how much I can say about the photograph. But so when you're doing that, you in a way you're developing your drawing skills. So because I went through this long period of painting from photographs and now doing the computer where you want to improve your drawing skills, so I've been going through that experience and so I started working with you, doing from life. That stuff was all coming in there, you know, saying, well, what is this going to be about? Is it going to be about doing a good drawing? You know, what stage of your painting are you? Is it going to be a combination of that transcendental experience? Are you going to reach the point, at least the beginning of where Picasso was, where it was like a combination of good drawing and plus the transcendental, you know, and plus all these like really good distorted forms that I always wanted to do and be able to get there. So all of that was going on while I was doing you, and I remember that the focus was very much is destroying balance, you know, is the distortion happening, but yet was a balance of a good drawing, you know, this was there constantly. And it was a little bit confusing, and it was causing a lot of conflict. So because I had almost forgotten what not how it felt like when I arrived at my final image, because that I never forget. I know exactly how I feel when I arrive at the last image, but I didn't know what exactly to expect with the image on the canvas. What was that going to be like? Was I going to be satisfied? And if I wasn't satisfied, was that going to interfere with the experience of transcendentalism? And that feeling of being whole and complete. So that I was terrified of that, because I felt that, if my concerns now is about doing a perfect drawing, then am I going to lose that other feeling that to me is the most important thing, the transcendental? So I was very concerned about that, because you get caught into directions. What direction are you going? Are you going in the right direction? Where are you going? And this kind of thing. And that's a very scary process when you get stuck in these different directions. So anyway, the final one comes, and I remember putting the brush down, and the yellow was concerning me. I didn't know. But then and there were a few things in the process painting that was concerning me a lot. One was a time limitation, because I know that I need a lot of time to get to the transcendental. So I was very worried about that. I felt that I was pushing it, and I almost felt that I went to the big one too soon, but I had no choice, so I did it. So all of that, I was very concerned. I did it anyway, and what I felt, I remember when I chose the blue, the color blue to put the line over the yellow, I remember my first stroke, because the first stroke is very important. It will make you or break you, or you have to, But when I did make that first stroke, the first blue, it was very exhilarating, because I felt that what was about to happen was very different of all the process paintings, because I was concerned about those process paintings, because I was still confused. But what was going on? And then I started becoming very confident, because I felt that, yes, I'm getting the transcendental feeling right now, and I feel that the beginning is right, and it feels right, because there's something very different happening right now, and it felt, whether I liked it or not, whether it was almost like independent of me, I was seeing this lightness, and it was a very contemporary feeling of what I was doing. And it was totally the opposite of what I was really looking for, because, to me it was still that obsession, Picasso, distortion, and what was going on there was something totally different, and yet it was thrilling and exciting, and I said, oh, I'm gonna go with this. And so, that was all feeling well, but as it was, and the face was, and then the doubts begin, because there was another element. You were very tired. I was very tired. Then, I wasn't thinking straight anymore, and I began then to doubt. I began to say, oh, this arm is totally wrong. It doesn't look right. And it began with the drawing. This conflict started going in. And then I just started saying, I have a time limitation. Let everything go. Just go with it and do it. So, but as I was going on, I was beginning to lose, that clarity that I had when I put the first stroke. And then I just said, just go with it. And I did. So you left, and I was like terrified at looking at the painting. So I put it up, I stood right in front of it, and what I saw, it was like incredible. It was just this amazing transcendentalism. But what that was about, though, it had to do with you. I looked at your face, and at that stage of the game, or at that stage of that face, I saw this incredible inner light that was coming from you. And I thought it was like young inner light, and I felt that there was that part of you that was so bright in a light way. It was radiant. That I was seeing like this incredible radiance and the strength, and that was the poet part of you. And I felt that, and I was like really happy that I was able to capture that side of you, and because it was very inspirational to me to have met someone that had that inner raw quality, and it had to do with the poetic energy inside of you, and that's what I was seeing, that it was coming out, and that was very inspirational. And the whole process, that by having experienced that and seeing that in there, I was a little concerned, and then I began to be very concerned about you. She's going to come in here, she's going to see that arm doesn't look right, and that hand is smaller, and that was beginning to cast a shadow then, a little bit. But then I went to bed, and that's what that process does to me when I arrive at the end, and I have reached the transcendental. I just feel like that I'm the most whole being in the world, and that I am back to when I was a child, when a child experiences the world without its fragmentation and disturbances, and they're just experiencing that world. And that's what I experience every time I reach the transcendental stage. And it's just like incredible. It's like almost you don't need all that neurotic adult stuff. It's just you're just in that state, and it's incredible. And it lasted until the next day, still that same feeling. That's why when I looked at that sunflower, it was all there, and it was incredible. So anyway, that was that state. Then I started, doing I won't get into the letters, the poem, and because there is a very important reference that I want to make about you and what happened. So I did the poem, and I'm not gonna get into how I came up with the idea, why, and the whole thing. But finally, I started dealing with the color, and I started dealing with you and your face. And by the way, I'm feeling that I'm saying you, but I'm actually not talking to you. It's very weird because I'm doing like two things at the same time. Talking to you, but also looking at the painting and thinking abstractly, but also making reference to you. So, but anyway, and when it came to your eyes, because it was that lightness, I talked to Scott about this actually, that light that was totally radiant, that was seen. So then I go and I put the color in your eyes, which was a dark color. And I got very sad because suddenly when I put that dark color, that lightness kind of disappeared. And the reason, then I started thinking, the reason why it made me sad is because I kind of felt, well, have I exposed her soul and there's something magical about it? Or does it have something to do because her eyes were yellow there before, and now they're purple and they're dark, and because I did that, so because of the technique, that now is creating a different, like a different aura or a different energy. And then I started saying to myself, okay, go with this now, go with this state. began to do was I looked at your figure and I looked at the poem and I started seeing this other side. You know, it may be because I still have problems in accepting my all sides about me and me accepting all sides in someone else. You know, I wanted to kind of not go in there. But then I said, okay, so I will go with this. And then when I began to see what I did, I looked at your figure, I looked at your face, I tried to see what else was there. And it was like a tremendous independence, tremendous strength, and very, like, um, you just don't really care. You're gonna do whatever you want to do. I don't know if it's exactly that, but this, it's that kind of feeling. Because I'm trying to see it now. It's like, here I am. This is me, and it's so raw that, and that is your strength. You know, the rawness about who you are. And I think it's very strongly bound to nature. And that to me is the strength in you that I see. Now then I wanted to see more, and then I began to read the poem, right, and look at the face. And then I began to have this other feeling, which to me was incredible, and probably that was the part that I did not want to see. And I kind of started reading the poem, and then I felt that only someone that has an enormous amount of pain could write something like that, and that this poem came from that part, and that made that gave it the completion. And I think that probably why it arrived at the dark eyes with the words.
Very interesting.
And then I began to think about the pain and knew that there were things that did happen in your life when you lost your sister as a young girl. You know, and then maybe other things you went through, and now what you're going through now with your other sister. And just the virtue of being a poet, I think you need to have that capability of feeling pain. Or else I think a poet could not write something as beautiful as this. Unless they had, and I'm not saying that to write something beautiful you have to be in pain. I'm not saying that at all. I just feel that this came out of that for me. And now I'm in a totally different stage already when I look at the pain. First of all, the next day or the following day after you have seen it and we went to the park, I couldn't look at this. It was so close because I looked at it so many times, and because I was really, seeing what was this cross about for me, what was going on, where's my new direction, and I just couldn't look at it. And still now, it's a little bit difficult to look at it because I really need to create a distance. And still now, I look at it, and I say, oh, the great thing about it is that it has arrived again at the way Carmen paints, and that is really good for me. Because there are times you think, what is this about? And then I just felt it's again about Carmen painting in this raw kind of way, and let's see where this is going to go to. That's it.